Hi, Year 10. I hope you're okay. It's Miss Edmonds here from John School's English department, and I'm just here today to talk to you about the work that you've been set. So you have been provided with a set of York notes, which are study guides for the set text, and you are going to start by focusing on Macbeth, which is obviously one of your core GCSE texts, and it's really fabulous. So you will have been given week by week work to complete, and you are going to use your knowledge organiser and your study guide to support you with answering and completing these texts. Now, as Macbeth is a fabulous Shakespeare play. You've probably seen adaptations. You can watch different adaptations on YouTube, and you can also obviously read it. Get your family to play different parts, or you can just do every part yourself. So you will have had this work. So for week 1, you have a certain part of the text that you need to read, and you need to remind yourself of the key events and the key characters. So realistically, you could be doing thinking maps, you could be looking at specific characters, whether or not you're looking purely at Macbeth or you're looking at Lady Macbeth, looking at women, you're looking at different themes within the play, or you're just looking at them all in general. So you're going to start by looking at those characters, writing those summaries, and possibly you will then move on to including those key quotations for each of those characters. You are going to need a range to make sure you're able to answer the questions effectively. So not just the first quotation you come across, but think specifically about different points in the play, which quotation fits that character the best. You're going to continue reading the text. Obviously, you'll go through Act 2, and you might want to highlight those summaries, those key quotations, and again, just remind yourself of the key points. Think about how the witches may have influenced that part of the play. Think about how Lady Macbeth influenced Macbeth and how that changes the play, and really making sure you know that play inside and out. As you go through the weeks, obviously you go through, Act 4 up to Act 5, and you think about which, characters, you think about other ideas, you might think about the key themes. So you've got supernatural, kingship, royalty, women. Have I already said this? I've said the supernatural, but I'll say it again. You might want to think about violence. All these different themes. Have you got quotations which links to those ideas, and which you can explain well? Now, once you've got all of that information, you can really start writing those petal paragraphs out. So use your work that you've done previously, use your knowledge organiser for that core knowledge, and use the study guide to write your responses. So one of the questions from week 1 is to explore how witchcraft is presented in the play. So you can answer that question chronologically, or you could just focus on each scene in which witches appear and what the impact is. So you'll start writing your petal paragraphs. Obviously your point needs to be quite clear. Maybe include those embedded quotations and think about how they influence not just what they do, but how does Shakespeare make sure the witches are seen to influence the play. What terminology, what techniques does he use? How does that link to the overall theme? What is the impact of what they do? And why is it significant? Moving on, the witches obviously carry on throughout the play because they are a very important plot point. But you move on, you might think about Macbeth and King Duncan. I always think a really good question is on the 3 kings, and you could look at comparing those 3 kings at different points. Obviously you've got King Duncan, as Macbeth said, he's really clear in that great office, he's a good king. Then you've got Macbeth, who is a tyrant, and then lastly the play ends obviously with King Malcolm, and that brings closure to the play and it restores that natural order. So you could compare and you could contrast those 3 kings. Are they good? What happens? And what quotations have you got to evidence that? Now, moving into week 3, you have got a lot a lot of work to be getting on with here as well. And again, we're looking at the differences between Macduff and Macbeth, and how those two characters are the antithesis of each other. So how are they opposing? What do they do? Now, I really like the scene with Macduff when he finds out his whole family's been slaughtered, and he talks about how he's going to grieve like a man, and then how he swears revenge. And I think that's a brilliant scene. And sometimes it is overlooked, but it's a great scene really to compare and contrast that to Macbeth, and how he reacts when he finds out that how Lady Macbeth dies right at the end, just as he's going into battle, and the differences there in emotion. Moving on as well, a lot of, focusing on minor characters as well. So, people like Satan, who just appears right at the end, and his sort of conversation with Macbeth, and how that might be important because it tells us about Macbeth's state of mind at that point. You also might want to think about the porter and the porter scene. Now, there's a lot of contextual information as well, which links the porter and links to what Shakespeare was doing with his play Macbeth at that point. Again, really important to revise. So you have got a lot of work to be getting on with, and your knowledge organiser study guide, like I said, is really going to support you in completing that work. Again, from that, you've also got a lot on the internet which you could use. So I know Bite Size have been doing a lot of work on Shakespeare as a fountain of knowledge and Macbeth out there. There's also the other study guides, which I know some of you have. Knowledge organiser, like I've said, and also the adaptations. And I know the RSC have got loads of videos which they have published on YouTube focusing on Macbeth, and there's clips from the most recent production with, I can't remember his name, it's Christopher Eccleston, who played Macbeth, and they actually had children instead of witches. It was ingenious, so I suggest you check that out as well. Okay, if you have any questions, you can email the English department on the email address you have been provided with, and someone will get back to you straight away. Thanks.